Hello, I'm Forrest Fisher of Simply Piano Tuning Repair and Events, and I'd like to welcome you to the beginning of a new series, Tuning Tuesday. Now, over the course of this series, I'm going to go through, step by step, how to tune a piano. Now, before we get started, I'd like to make a disclaimer. The way that I tune a piano, I don't advocate that it's necessarily the only way to tune a piano per se. I've only been in this business about 3 years now. There's several technicians out there that have been doing this a lot longer than I have. My way is simply the way that I've found to be the best for me and my clients. So, today we're going to talk about the tools you will need. First and foremost, you'll need a tuning hammer. Now, this doesn't look like your average Joe hammer, obviously, but this is what they called it back in the day, and the name is stuck. This basically goes over the tuning pin, so you can turn and tighten the string, thereby changing the pitch or loosening the string, either way. All right, definitely need one of these. Next thing you'll need is a temperament strip. So what this does is you place it in the strings. Now, inside the piano, there are groups of 3 strings. That's up in the treble, and it goes down to 2 strings in the lower tenor, and then the big bass strings are just 1 string, and those are the big wound strings and everything. But you put this strip in the beginning of a group of 3, and then you put it in on the other side as well, and you just keep going through this pattern. Basically, you're muting the 2 outside strings, so only the middle string will sound. And it's important to mute the strings so that you're not having to try and tune all of the unisons first. You can just focus on 1 string and then add in the other strings to tune that unison. We'll talk more about unisons as we go along in this series. Now, in the way of mutes, I also have these rubber mutes, as you can see here. So now these, for me, are useful in the low tenor. I generally don't use the strip mute, and I don't use the strip mute for the whole treble either. So these are useful, if you're not using the strip mute. All right. The other tool. Now this only applies if you're tuning a vertical piano, which is what this is right here. This is a lid prop. Basically, these lids will hinge up, and it's useful to put this in there so that you don't have to lean the lid against the wall, potentially damaging the wall of the client, or if they have a picture hanging right above the piano or something. That's very useful as well. Another tool is a screwdriver. Now, depending on the piano, you may need to, it may be screwed in, this part right here. This may be screwed in, so you'll have to undo the screws to take that kind of front part off. The last piano that I tuned, it was a Wurlitzer. It just has a few flathead screws. This particular piano, it just has a couple of pins, so all you do is pull it out. But each piano is different, so that's something to keep in mind. That way you'll be prepared. And then the other tool that I always have, this is called a hydrometer. What it measures is the temperature and the percentage of humidity. Now, why is this important? Well, every time that I come to a piano, whether it's a repeat client or first, I always note down, okay, this was the temperature and this was the humidity inside of the piano. And I keep a record of that. Now, if I go back over that record and see, okay, the temperature and humidity, it's really wonky on this piano, then perhaps other solutions to help regulate that need to be explored. By regulating the humidity and temperature inside a piano, that helps it to be in tune longer. As a general rule of thumb, though, you need to have your piano tuned at least twice a year. Most manufacturers recommend your piano be tuned 2 to 4 times a year. But to that, I will add this little thing that I picked up from one of my colleagues. When you don't have any more fun playing the piano it's time to have it tuned. And that actually makes a lot of sense, because a few of my clients I've noticed, I get finished tuning their piano and everything, and I always like to play a little song and everything. And they're always just so pleased with how it sounds, and they're like, oh, I wanna play now. They may have not played in a while, but they're inspired to get back into it, which is really wonderful. All right, so that's all I have for this video. Stay tuned for next week, and have a good day.